Hi, in this video we're going to be learning about the global controls that we find inside the Forester tree. In the process, we're going to be creating this tree starting from a base Forester library tree. I'm going to start off with a new document altogether and create a new Forester tree. The base tree I'm going to start from is the Carolina poplar tree. This is the tree that I get. And this tree has 4 render levels and 3 viewport levels. Viewport levels are there to optimize the viewport interaction speed, while the render levels will show you what is going to be rendered. What we want to do in this video is learn about the global controls. So I'm going to go to global controls, and here I'm presented with a set of parameters that I can change. The first one is the global radius. If I change the global radius, it means that the radii of all the levels are going to change together. If I wanted to change one level at a time, I would have to go inside this specific level, for example, branch level 1, and here I can find the radius that I can change specific to that level. So the global controls have parameters that affect all the levels at the same time. We have seen the global radius. The second thing we can change is the length. So if we change the length of the branches, all the levels are going to have their length affected, either increased or decreased. And just by doing this, you can have a different type of tree. The branch prune will actually prune out the branches so that the emission will happen at the very tip of the branches if you increase that, or it would happen at the very base if you decrease it. So if you zoom in, we see that this is level 1. The emission of level 2 is starting from the base of level 1 because I decreased the branch prune. If I increase it, the emission of branch 2 and all the other branches will happen higher along the length of their parent branches. The branch flatten will flatten out the branches and therefore give you a different kind of tree altogether. The branch taper will taper out the branches. So if I increase this, the branches will be tapered along their ends. If I decrease it, they'll be widened out. The gravity controls the gravity of the branches according to the gravity ratio. So if I increase the gravity, the branches would tilt downwards, but here I'm seeing that only the lower set of branches are tilting downwards and the higher ones are not, and that has to do with the gravity ratio. If I increase the gravity ratio, it means that the higher branches will have the opposite gravity effect and therefore be tilted upwards. If I decrease the gravity ratio, it means that all the branches would have the same gravity change. If I zoom in, I see the curve that the branches take whenever they are being affected by gravity. I can control this with the gravity stiffness. So if I reduce it, the gravity will be less severe. If I increase it, the gravity will happen more severely and only towards the tip of the branches. Orient all branches to parent will orient the branches to their parents, which means that the branches' orientation will be inherited from the orientation of the parent branch. If I don't choose that, it means that the branch distribution in terms of rotation is more uniform. If I want a wilder orientation for the branches, which is not very uniform, I can check orient all branches to parent. This will give a non-uniform appearance to the tree. The spread angle will spread out the branches either by increasing that value or by decreasing it. If I decrease it all the way down, the branches will have no more spreading. Now the swivel vary will vary the swiveling in a random manner. So if I increase that, the branches will have a different orientation than original. This is important in case I was creating 2 trees and I changed the random seed for 1, and it still looked like the original. But I would have liked it to look different or more different than the original. The way to do that is to go to Global Controls and increase the swivel variance, and this will give you a drastically different appearance. So now if I change the random seed, I'm going to have a different appearance for the tree, much different than the one I had at the beginning. Alright, so let's say that I want to build on this tree so I get a totally different version than the one I started with. Let's see what else we can change under Global Controls. We can change the branch waviness in X. This will also deform the branch in a wavy form. It can be in either X or Z or a combination of both. And you can make the waves bigger or smaller. You can also increase the turbulence of the branches or decrease it. If you go all the way down, the branches are going to be straight. The reason I'm still getting curviness here is because at level 1 I have branch wave Z not being equal to 0. If I do set it to 0, then I would have totally straight branches everywhere. So I'm going to undo that. The last thing you can change in the global controls is the turbulence scale. If you increase that, then the turbulence gets bigger and therefore you get less detail. If you decrease it, the turbulence gets smaller and therefore you get more detail. Of course, all these parameters can be changed at the individual level of each branch. Next, we have the branch global, which are controls that have to do with the actual resolution of the branch. Now, remember, I'm trying to create another tree different than the one that I started with, and I would like it to look slightly better than this one, have a high resolution. The first thing I want to do is fix the distribution of the leaves. Then I'll go back to branch global. If I go to leaves, I have the keep every nth leaf set to 3. It means that every third leaf is going to be kept. I'm going to choose 1 so that all the leaves will be kept like so. Also, the leaves have a symmetrical spread orientation. I'm going to uncheck this to have the leaves spread across the branches according to the spread on branch value. This value I'm going to set it to 45 degrees. Also, I'm going to increase the point to branch tip, and the bending of the leaves I'm going to set it to 15 degrees. So now I have a different appearance for the leaves.